this fight, after having done so many fights, Jim, where does this one rank for you?
Well,
you think?
It's the biggest one on the horizon right now. And, you know, I rise to a high level of expectation every time we have a fight of this impact and magnitude within the sport. This is the only fight that will take place this year between two of the top 5 or 6 names in the sport. They're arguably the 2 biggest names in the sport outside of the heavyweights, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Clearly that fight isn't taking place this year. So this, a rematch of 2017's biggest fight, is 2018's biggest fight. And it's an entirely different kind of confrontation because of the events that have taken place in the intervening 12 months. Last year's fight was a high-level sports event between 2 honorable competitors who actually kind of liked each other and respected each other. This is an all-out blood feud between 2 guys who don't have any use for each other at all, and the level of animosity on both sides probably will affect the nature of the combat in the ring and in unpredictable ways. It's hard to tell who benefits from the higher level of venom going into the second fight.
So the fact that Canelo got popped for PEDs adds what to this mix?
Oh, yeah. Well, by testing positive twice for performance-enhancing drugs, he managed to kick away the original scheduled date of May 5 for this rematch. That occasioned the need for a 3rd contract negotiation between the 2 fighters' teams, and that contract negotiation was far more angry and discordant than that which had preceded it. It took a last-minute infusion of money from sources that still aren't 100% clear to the general public to get Golovkin to agree to terms for the second fight. He got a much bigger bite of the pie than he got the first time around. And, you know, once again, they don't like each other. They don't like each other for a variety of different reasons now. And that's an entirely different emotional context than a year ago.
What is your stance on the decision, the split decision draw of the previous
Well, the split decision draw was a terrible decision. I mean, I think an overwhelming majority of the ringside observers and an overwhelming majority of the audience, as reflected on social media, agreed that Gennady Golovkin was the logical winner of the first fight. But he didn't win the fight in the role of Gennady Golovkin. You know, he came into the fight as the most celebrated pure attacker in the sport and a guy with a spectacular knockout record. He beat Canelo, if you agree that he beat Canelo, and I do, with boxing skill and his jab. It wasn't the way he was supposed to win the fight. And that may have, in some ways, left the door open to the draw decision. But, you know, almost no responsible observer I know of believes that a draw was exactly the right call in the first fight. It seemed clear that Gennady won more rounds than Canelo.
Do you think if Larry Merchant was 50 years younger, he'd be able to kick Floyd Mayweather's ass? Jim Lampley.
Well, Mayweather is a backup counterpuncher, and Larry would be a pure attacker.
I love that answer.
Take your pick.
That's one of my favorite.
Oh, it's a listen.
Post-fight.
Here's how great that line was. Larry said, "If I were 50 years younger, I'd kick your ass." At about 8:30 or 8:45 Pacific on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
By noon the following day, you could buy a T-shirt on the Venice Pier with a picture of Larry's face that says, "If I was 50 years younger, I'd kick your ass." By noon the following day, fewer than 16 hours later, you could buy that T-shirt on the Venice Pier.
And there was no social media at the time.
No, that's right. But social media, one of the things I love to say is that no sport is as dramatically affected by social media as boxing. The entire story of Floyd Mayweather's career, particularly his epic financial arc, is a story of social media. And social media is a huge context for what will go on in the second fight between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez.
How so? Walk me through that.
Well, a lot of the feud that's taken place since Canelo's positive drug tests has taken place on social media, both with direct contributions to social media by people like Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, and also indirect with people tweeting and sending around quotes that they read here and there or hear from the two fighters.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.